Talk about the API gateway. So what is API gateway? Think of it as the front-end desk at a luxury hotel. Just as hotel guests don't need to know where the housekeeping office or the maintenance room is located, client shouldn't need to know about the internal structure of your microservice. So API gateway serve as a single entry point for all clients requires managing and routing them to appropriate back servers, just as a hotel front-end desk handle check-ins, room assigning, and guest requests. An API gateway manages central middleware like authentication, routing requires handling. The evolution of the API gateways parallel the rise of microservice architecture. As monolithic applications were broken down into smaller, specific servers, the need for a centralized point of control became evident. Without an API gateway, clients would need to know about and communicate with multiple servers directly. Imagine hotel guests having to track down individual staff member for each request. API gateway, a thin, relative simple component that serve as a clear purpose. So let's see example here, not this one. Let me add this one. Wait a second, let me to move up for something here. Yeah, in the 2000s, that time, normally just have the monolithic architecture. So client is standard requires, right, just the one servers, and then it will do some logic and from the database and return back. So this is the monolithic architecture. And during the time, we need to extend the servers. We have microservice architecture. So client send the requires to the different servers and to the database. And with the time, we need to handle a problems is, as you can see, when the servers, so many things, right? You have to, one servers come here, and you need to identify different API, different something. They might use different rules. So it's with the system more complexity is not efficiency way. That's why we need API gateway. It's a collection all the requires to manage them and help you to redirectly to the specific microservice. So this is the API gateway doing here. You can see that's it's kind of like you can go to the apartment, right? There's a apartment manager. They help you to manage some lot of things. You don't need to worry about too much. Or you can, as the example previous, like a hotel. You have the, which one? Hotel is what? Luxury hotel, yeah. Hotel guest, which one? It's called the gateway. Yes, front-end desk. Front-end desk. So treat it as a front-end desk help you to redirectly to the right servers. And in the middle of this time, 2010s, we need to, based on the microservice, right? At the beginning here, you have like authentication here, authentication here, authentication here. It's not good enough. Then they do some performance, like the API gateway take more responsibility for the authentication. So the specific microservice just focus on, it's more detail about just focus on their business logic, not relative to the authentications, repeating and repeating over again. So this is kind of like API gateway take more responsibility about the thing. So it will treat it as middleware. And this is backend, and middleware is frontend. Okay, let's see. So the final, the rest of the years, architecture is like this, like client sending the request, And the API gateway will validate the request, and run the middleware like authentication, rate limit, something always set up in the API gateway. And then also take the third response like routing to the correct service. So for example, current here business, right, it will redirect it to the business service and transfer the response. And based on the business service, it will have some response. It also will return back through the API gateway, return back to the client. So this is the complete high-level design about the API gateway. So you can see here, pass route, right? Pass user something, and then servers is user service, and port is something. It's all design, all configuration. You have to do some configuration in the API gateway to do the thing. And the example of the API gateway, we have servers, we have AWS API gateway, and it's Horizon Azure API management, and Google Cloud Endpoint. They work the same function about API gateway, just based on different cloud server, right? Amazon, Google. And also you can use some open source API gateway like a Spring Cloud gateway. When your application, the backend is used Spring Boot or something, Spring Cloud offer these functions, and you can configure that and help you to do the API gateway responsibility. And also this is another open source TY expression gateway. Based on what your language, you can find what you need. Yeah, I think that the last one is JavaScript or know something here. And for this one, is more focused on the Java. Yeah, thank you.